the latest episode of In the Mix with your girl Leah B. And I just want to tell you guys, I appreciate you guys so much for riding with me. It's been a while since I dropped an episode, maybe like a month. So I'm trying to be consistent with the new episodes and everything of that sort. So I am so glad you guys are rocking with me. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'm glad you guys enjoy what I have been bringing to you all. I appreciate that so much, very, very much. So, so with this episode, this is episode 10. I know I'm not in the best shape right now because I'm gonna be transparent with y'all right now. I just got the COVID shot. I got it last week. Well, the first one maybe a few weeks ago, and I got the second one yesterday. Man, when I tell you, the second one is like knocking me out. It's crazy. But I'm glad you guys are rocking with me. I'm doing all I can. But anyway, enough of me rambling on and on and on. So this episode is episode 10. And this episode is about a singer by the name of Tony Terry. I know you may heard of his song When I'm With You. Yeah, this is like the only hit he really had after that, and then he just disappeared. So let's get into it. So Tony Terry was born Antonio Terry in March of 1964 in D.C., Washington, D.C. to be exact. After he graduated from the Duke Ellington School of the Arts, that's a popular school in D.C. If you did not know, fun fact, Dave Chappelle was a graduate of Duke Ellington's of that high school back in the day. So yeah, after graduating from high school, he was doing like gigs here and there and whatnot, and he landed a background job with this group at the time named Sweet Sensation. They were like a pop group, and they were popular in the 80s as well. They were out of the Bronx, New York. They weren't really that popular, but he was a background vocalist for them. And also another group that he background vocal for was this hip hop group called the Boogie Boys, and they're out of Harlem, New York. They weren't really that popular either. So, while he was doing work with them, he signed a record deal with Epic Records in 1987, and that's when he released his first debut single called She's Fly. That was released the same year, probably a few months after he got signed, and that peaked at number 10 on the R&B charts, the Billboard R&B charts. And a year later, he released his debut album called Forever Yours. And that was released in 1988. And that album reached the top 40 on the Billboard charts. And he had a follow-up single after that called Lovey Dovey that reached number 4 on the R&B charts, and it climbed up to the top 20. You know, it didn't make it to like the top 10. It made it to the top 20 R&B spot. And also in 1989, Tony Terry had a duet with a guy named Flame, who was his label mate as well. And the song that they did together was called On the Strength. That reached number 59 and number 11 on the dance charts. After that, after he did that duet, this is when his second album exploded. And that's when the album with When I'm With You debuted. And that the debut album did pretty good, but his self-titled album, Tony Terry, that was his second effort. That's when it blew up completely. And that song was released in 1990, With You. And that's when it reached the top 40. I'm sorry, not the top 40, but the top 20 of the US Hot 100. It went up to the top, Hot 100. And it was a top 10 hit as well on the Billboard R&B charts as well. And then on that debut, on the second album, he had made another single called Everlasting Love that went to number 6 on the R&B charts as well. And then after that, I guess he had a label dispute with Epic, and that's when he left and went over to Virgin Records. And when he was working with them, he had an album called for that label, which happened to be 1994's Heart of a Man. I forgot to mention for the video of When I'm With You, Anita Baker directed the video for When I'm With You, and she was the executive producer of the video, and Blair Underwood made an appearance in the video as well. So after that, that's when he became recognized. But in 94, he had made this album called Heart of a Man, and that single on that album was called When a Man Cries. It only reached the top 40. It didn't really do very well. And then during that time, he did background vocals for Yolanda Adams, and the song that she had at that time was called Gotta Have Love, off of her album More Than a Melody. And then he was doing soundtracks as well. He did a song for the Gladiator soundtrack with Cuba Gooding Jr. He did a song for the soundtrack with a movie with Gregory Hines called Tap. He did another soundtrack with called King on the King's Ransom soundtrack with Anthony Anderson. And with the song When I'm With You, that became his biggest hit during that time in 1991. He earned 2 Soul Train Music Award nominations, which was Single of the Year and Artist of the Year. And he's still making music, but not as much as he was before. His last project was in 2017 actually, and it was called I-26, and that was released in 2015, not 2017. Sorry about that. And also he ventured into acting. He was in a movie produced by Michael Jackson, of all people, called Sisterella. That was co-produced by Michael Jackson. And he did a few plays. He was in David Talbert's play, Mama, I Wanna Sing. And he was in a play with Stephanie Mills called His Woman, His Wife, with Stephanie Mills. And he still tours to this day. He still, I follow him on Instagram, so he still tours to this day. Still making music. He was in The Wiz as the Tin Man. He premiered as the Tin Man on tour. He was in another stage production called Cheese Cake Boys and the Diva. He was in another play called Blackness and Nativity. So yeah, he's still making records. He's still touring to this day. He's not as popular as he once was, but he's still, doing his thing. And he's married. From what I was looking at, he's married, and the rest is history with him. So this episode is going to be kind of short because I couldn't really find much on him. So yeah, I thank you guys for listening to In the Mix with me. So if you want to follow up with me on social media, it is In the Mix with Leah V on Instagram and Facebook. So I thank you for listening to this episode today, and stay tuned for the next one. All right, y'all. Thank you for listening to In the Mix with Leah B. I appreciate you and enjoy you. All right, y'all. Peace and love.